ignore that. This isn't a script, I promise. None of this is scripted or anything. It's just a thing that lets me, it helps me, okay? No. Anybody text me? Nobody. Oh, somebody texted me. See, LOL, but that's it. Nice. Bro, life is so boring. Howdy.
Smooth like butter.
Bored. I'm bored. I'm bored. I'm so very bored. I'm bored. Are you as bored as I am? I'm like bored out of my mind. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Just different types of photography, really. I mean, there's not really, I guess I don't really know if any better like intro or anything. I'm bored, and I guess we're gonna go over different types of photography. There's way more than I thought anyways. Am I in frame? Sure hope. Oh no.
Oh no.
So my face was out of frame for like half of the video. This is why Sony cameras suck. They don't have a little flippy screen. You know the flippy screen? You know the flippy screen. They don't have the flippy screen. So I don't know. I'm probably just gonna. I'll put something over it. I hate Sony.
So there's the three nature-esque branches of photography. There's wildlife, nature, and landscape. Yes, landscape. They all kind of fall into this nature-esque category, but they're all pretty different with some small distinctions. Wildlife is just animals, literally animals. Like that's the whole, like it's not necessarily like trees or plants. Like trees and plants might get in there, but the whole point focus is like animals. And then nature kind of encompasses everything, where it's like animals, but then it's also like animals and trees, plants, flowers, like literally anything having to do with nature. Tornadoes, hurricanes, rain, snow, anything out there in nature. Like clouds can be considered nature. And then landscape, and landscape is you're gonna have more of like the big old huge wide vast space. It's gonna be more of a, I mean, landscape. I guess I don't even know a better way to describe that other than it's landscape. Which brings me to the sponsor of today's video, Manscaped. I'm not sponsored, actually. That's not, it just sounded. But yeah, landscape is kind of what you would see when people do a lot of like the mountainscape, desertscape, sunrise or sunset, or huge cityscapes. Kind of just depends on what you're going for. Sometimes you could see an overhead view of like Spaghetti Junction and all the different underpass. Street and urban. These two are kind of alike. Kind of, but not really. It's pretty self-explanatory. Street is just street. It's like out on the street. Like in New York City, you're out on the streets taking pictures of cars or people. Urban is also out on the street. Could be out on the street, potentially. Why does everything sound like it's a question? I would like to eat some potato chips with a sandwich. Urban is more of a lifestyle, really. At least that's what I was told. Night, anything that's at night. Wedding, people getting married. Yeah, there's actually a lot more that goes on along with it because you have to actually like follow them around all day, like the bride and the groom, and you have to like follow them around all day and like take pictures of like everything, and like they want pictures of like the food and like the receptions and the after parties and the after parties and the presents, and it's a lot. It's actually a lot. It's way more than I thought. And then, you know, you actually gotta get the I do bride, and then yeah, Astro. Nobody knows about Astro. I didn't know it was a thing until I started photography. Astro is like the stars. It's actually really interesting. There's so many different and interesting things you can do with it, and people have found different ways to not just capture the stars, but like light paint with the stars, which is so cool. Which is actually how and why I think certain branches of photography take from other branches of photography. I think that's super cool. I also think it's really funny because like everybody I talk to in any group or branch of photography always says this one thing. You know, I just think my form of photography is like the best form of photography, because like it just takes from like all the other different branches of photography. I know you have. I know you have. If you're watching this, you're probably a photographer. I know you have. You have. You definitely have. In reality, really everything takes from. But don't you say the exact same thing about creative photography? Well, I mean, yeah, that's different because like we literally do. I mean, that's kind of the whole portrait. See how it's like just my head and like part of my, I can't even see if how much of me is in frame. Hi, this is a portrait. This is me. Generally used for business pictures. Portraits are generally used for business pictures, any sort of professional look, models trying to get headshots, things like that. In my opinion, it's not the funnest. Which is kind of why I didn't start doing it. I first started, I was a nature photographer, and that was a lot of fun getting lost in the woods and finding crazy stuff. And now I'm a creative and impact photographer, and I make crazy stuff. See, like kind of backtracking to earlier where I said different forms of photography take from each other. Now let's say you're at a wedding doing wedding photography, but then the bride wants like a portrait shot of maybe from her chest up or from her waist up. Is that portrait or wedding? Now let's say somebody wants a full body portrait, but over a landscape. Is that landscape photography or portrait photography? Let's say somebody is shooting for a car company and they decide to use light painting. Does that make them a creative photographer or a long exposure photographer, you know? Film photography. This one's a little weird because it's not really something that I could like take my camera and just like change a few settings or change my subject and then kind of. Okay, so this entire video has been with a cropped frame, my face, have my face cropped out. That's great. So the first part will probably more so be voiceover, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. Yeah, okay. But film, yeah, it's kind of one of the only things that I can't really change some camera settings or my subject. It kind of has to be with a traditional film camera. Like I can put filters over it in editing, but nothing quite hits that traditional film, one shot, one take, one try style of film photography. There's creative and impact. That's me, that's what I do. That's how I kind of got my start after I did nature, and I had a lot of fun with it. Taking these random household items or just random ideas and kind of seeing if they work. Sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't, but I don't know, it was still super fun. Using your camera, different items, props, ideas, and creativity in very unconventional ways to create incredible, amazing, and impactful images. That's kind of, you know, it's why it's called creative photography. I have had some like dispute about that where people will get upset and they'll be like, all photography is creative photography. We're all artists here. Okay, Karen. Commercial photography, anything that you see in commercials, anything you see in magazines, anything that you see in advertisement, which can kind of bleed into creative photography because there are a lot of things used like light painting and high shutter speed that are used for commercial photography, but they wouldn't necessarily consider themselves a creative photographer, just a photographer. Car, this is interesting because it could be another branch of creative photography. Creative photography is best used in marketing and sales. Man, I don't even know if this is focused anymore, and neither do I care. I actually found out, it's kind of interesting, car photographers actually do use a technique called light painting to get a certain effect on cars, but it's a different light painting from the light painting I am used to. And it's weird because I wasn't even really trying to find it. I was just trying to like find light painting effects with cars. Food photography. Food photography is kind of similar to creative photography because you have to think of very different unorthodox ways to use different things that aren't naturally what they would seem to get certain effects, which is like creative photography-esque. Like the whole, like the thing that like everybody knows with the ice cream cone and the mashed potatoes, and like the ice cream isn't actually mashed potatoes, and it's not actually ice cream, but it's mashed potatoes because mashed potatoes don't melt. Sports photography. Sports photography is interesting because there's like a very specific set of lenses and cameras that you can use that are fast enough to capture the action. But I mean, it's kind of, again, self-explanatory. It sounds like it is whenever like ESPN, Sports News Network has the game-winning catch of the pictures up on like the main page. That's sports photographers. Somebody's got to take that picture. Just kind of wild when you think about it, because like sometimes they gotta run as fast, if not faster, than some of the people running on the field. Long exposure photography. This is like, it's weird because long exposure photography doesn't necessarily mean light painting. Have you ever seen like the really cool pictures with like the lakes and they're all like, or like the waterfalls and they look all like smooth and milky? Yeah, that's long exposure. You can't, it's not just light that is used for long exposure, even though although that is one of the things that it's used for the most. That water and light are really the only two I can think. I mean, there are definitely other ones, but I don't know. It'd be like cool if you like get the clouds or like stars, kind of like in astrophotography, which is technically a form of light painting, but I don't know. And then real estate. This one is boring, actually. Taking pictures of houses. I mean, you know, it's fun. It's good money. I have a friend in real estate. I hope she doesn't see this. I highly doubt she will. If you're seeing this, tell me and I'll buy you Snickers. You know who you are. Interior, exteriors, sometimes use drones. You can put them online and say, hey, this house is for sale. Those are the 17 forms of photography. I'm very sure I left some out, so if I did, leave them in the comments below. Tell me and maybe I'll make another video. I love creative photography. It's my favorite out of all 17 of these different forms of photography, and you should try it. You should check it out. It's fun. It's really hard, but it's fun and rewarding. I'm running out of battery life. Bye.